turns your genes on and off. And there are good genes and bad genes. On the panel on the left, you see some red blotches there. This is prostate gland tissue. These are cancer-promoting genes that are turned on. These are oncogenes that are active. They put this man on a whole food, plant-based diet, lots of soups and salads and greens and veggies, and 6 months later, his prostate tissue is like on the right. Those green patches are those formerly turned on cancer genes that are turned off. Your food turns your genes on and off. It's that powerful, and we got to stop pretending this doesn't happen. You don't need to be a geneticist to understand that the genes are going to be turned on by this food, and all the contaminants I have listed below it that comes from cooking meat and all the other problems from the way the animals are raised. The molecules from this food that are going to wash through your cells and turn your genes on and off is a fundamentally different set of genes that are going to be turned on by this food. It's the difference between 1 and 0. And we got to stop kidding ourselves. These plant-based molecules, as they flow through your cells, they give the chemical message, calm down, everything's okay, they're stabilizing, they're antioxidants, they promote tissue repair. We are plant-eating organisms, and our muscles and tissues are craving the molecules in these plant foods. Don't deprive them of them, because this is where aging lies. This is where inflammation begins. This is where autoimmune diseases start. This is where cancers get initiated. As the food we eat flows through our DNA, it turns our genes on and off and determines who we are. When we eat whole plant foods, they turn on a different set of genes that promote rejuvenation and tissue healing. And people say, I've been born a bad gene. My daddy died young, my mother died young, I'm going to die young. Depends on what you eat. You may have a genetic propensity to a disease, but whether that disease actually manifests in your body depends on the food you're running through your tissues every day. And in one sentence, to summarize it, your genes may load the gun, but your diet and your lifestyle pull the trigger. But whether that disease actually shows up in your body depends on how you treat your DNA. The food will change you in 2 ways, either directly through the epigenetic line, we'll go into that, but it'll also change the microbes in your gut, and they will change you because their byproducts are biologically active as well. Don't underestimate how powerful the food is to change us. And as I look at this lovely, lovely audience, not a lot of black hair that I see here. And I so respect you. As I get older, I'm in my 70s now. I treasure all of you. You guys all made it through this age too, whatever age you are. Yeah, well done, you made it. Good for you guys, you made it to be elders. That's a wonderful thing. But I can also hear, I'm 84, I ate what I ate, I'm not going to change now. And besides, I got this disease, I got my arthritis, I got my Crohn's here. Your genes don't care how old you are. It's never too late to give your tissues what they're looking for to function better. It may not suddenly turn your hair black and make you give your body back what you had when you were 23. But at least your liver will start working better to synthesize the proteins you need. Your kidneys will start working better. Your brain will start working better. The name of the game is function. And you want to function better no matter what age you are, then stop kidding yourselves about the effect that your food choices have and how powerful. I've got 80, 90-year-old patients who cleaned up their diet. They're out walking every day. They're playing with their grandkids. That's what's supposed to happen in these years. And it's never too late to give your tissues what they need to get healthier. And I urge you, don't give up on yourself. Give this a good try for a month or 2 or 3 and see if you don't feel much better. Your bowels are going to start working better. Your energy level is going to go up. Things will get better. Now we got to talk about this guy. There's a whole lot of confusion about paleo diets and keto diets and these diets that tell you it's good to be eating big chunks of meat 3 times a day. That's what our ancient Paleolithic ancestors ate. Don't want to be eating anything that the caveman didn't eat. Like every caveman had a mastodon in the freezer and spent all day eating mammoth meat. I'm a caveman. I love that mammoth meat. It's a myth. The truth of it is, the Paleo Philosophy and the Keto folks say, ooh, eat that meat, don't eat those carbs, man, they make you fat and sick. Well, the Paleo folks say three things I agree with, because people lose weight on this diet, and their lipids get better, and their insulin sensitivity gets better. It must be a healthy diet then. Not so fast. They say three things I agree with. They say no caveman ever milked a dairy cow, so they're down on dairy products. Yay, paleo, they're right. They say no caveman ever squeezed the fat out of olives and poured it on a salad. They're down on oils. They're right. And they say no caveman ever crushed wheat into flour and made donuts and coffee cakes, so they're down on flour products. Yay, paleo, they're right. And you stop eating dairy, oil, and flour products, you're going to trim down. Absolutely. I'm all for that. And losing weight in and of itself will help your cholesterol levels. It'll make you less diabetic. It's a good thing. For the first 6 months, you see these changes. This is not a healthy diet to sustain. So eat meat every meal. Let's get flesh eating into some perspective here. Most Americans consume a piece of animal muscle 3 times a day. There's a piece of animal muscle in the center of every meal. Without it, you go, hey, where's my protein, man? I need my meat. This is what we've been grown up to believe. Most Westerners eat flesh 3 times a day, and even if you eat salmon for dinner, you're still eating flesh 3 times a day. I just want to point out a simple fact of biology. Not even lions eat flesh 3 times a day. Tigers in the rainforest, official carnivores, do not eat flesh 3 times a day. They don't even every day, well, once or twice a week if they can get it. No advanced primate eats flesh at all. Give this guy a steak, he'll step on it and go for the bananas. Why are we eating flesh? Who told us that eating flesh 3 times, when no other animal does this? These guys don't feed their young animal flesh 3 times a day. We are not carnivorous apes. No matter what the paleo folks are trying to tell us, this is not our biology. After 30 million years of plant eating, we didn't suddenly change our anatomy and become Homo carnivorous. Our saliva still contains starch-digesting enzymes. We still have long intestines like the herbivores. And if you want a good exploration of this on YouTube, see Dr. Milton Mills' presentation, Is Man an Herbivore or an Omnivore? He will make it very clear. We are herbivorous creatures. Aha, but what about these? I have canine teeth. Why are we giving canine teeth if we're not supposed to be eating meat? I hear that one a lot. To which I say, go into the bathroom, stand in front of the mirror, open your mouth, and have a look. You're going to see that your canine teeth up there are shorter than your central incisors in front. These are not flesh-eating canine teeth. You want to see official canine teeth that give you ultimate permission to eat animal flesh? If your teeth look like this, by all means, go to the nearest butcher shop, get a big slab of porterhouse, walk outside, and just have at it, man. Don't even bother to cook it. Or take a nice salmon and put it into the blender, and make a nice salmon smoothie. And drink that right down. Appetizing? Our nature is not carnivorous. Well, then what about these teeth? What are they good for? What they're good for is what humans really ate that got us through those Paleolithic times. The reality is, despite the mighty hunter myth, most hunts were unsuccessful. Most times the guys came back to camp empty-handed. If they did drag a carcass into camp, there was no refrigeration. It rotted. Within days, it became toxic. What did these people eat? The story is told in the fossilized feces. Yes, they're fecal droppings get turned into stone, and they're analyzed. And you see the massive amounts of fiber these people were eating, 150 grams of fiber a day. We eat maybe 20 these days. Where did all that fiber come from? The fact is that most of the calories brought into the Paleolithic camp were gathered by the women, who spent all day foraging and pulling up roots and tubers and starchy corms and edible grasses and nuts and berries and harvesting seeds. We were starchivores back then, and these teeth worked very well for eating these type of starchy vegetables. And when fire came along, let's just cook meat. You know what fire lets you do? It lets you boil water. And you can make these starches much softer, and you make soups and stews and really increase your calorie intake, which is really what made our brains grow. And if you take the time to go to Africa, like anthropologist Nathaniel Dominic did from Dartmouth, and you examine the skulls of the Cro-Magnons and the Neanderthals, you find in between their teeth are starch grains, because that's what we ate back then, and that's what we should be eating now. We are starchivores. That's where the calories come from. Starch is our sugars, or carbohydrates. Well, but you're supposed to eat meat every day, aren't you? Who's telling us to eat flesh with every meal? Do you know who makes up the nutrition guidelines in this country? Look at the bottom of the poster on the wall. You'll see 4 initials. The U.S. Department of Agriculture is making up the food guidelines in this country. What is the Agriculture Department doing telling human beings what to eat? They exist to promote the sales of meat and dairy products. What do you think they're going to tell you to eat with every meal? There's no science behind this. This is politics. This is big money economics. This is not the way to be. Well, you see what following this advice does. And USF yesterday, University of Florida in Gainesville the day before, all these mighty medical institutions exist to clean up the wreckage that this advice and this organization is spawning in all of these unsuspecting American citizens who follow this advice. There's no science behind it. And if your blood is carrying all these toxins from meat, you're going to have the problems with paleo that I get concerned. People love the taste of steak in their mouth, and they think that protein's making them strong. Well, it's not. And in following this, they are setting themselves up for terrible problems. Eating a protein and fat-rich diet without carbohydrates puts you into the state of ketosis. Ketones are the waste products from fat burning. And the keto people feel it's a good thing to do. And it's good to be in ketosis once a month for a few days. That's a good thing. An intermittent fast once a month for 3 days, 5 days, good thing, yay. The body shifts into a good gear, cleans itself out. I'm all for that. But for these keto folks to be promoting this diet, to stay in ketosis week after week after week, like this is a good state to be in. This is an emergency state that your body gets into when there isn't carbohydrates to eat. It's okay to be in it for a few days. You don't want to stay in ketosis week after week, month after month. These ketones are acid. They are acidic. This is a constant acid load that your liver has to deal with, your kidneys have to deal with, your bones have to deal with, and it makes your kidneys put out an abnormal urine, may draw calcium out of the bones, setting you up for osteoporosis. All this meat contains lots of DNA that turns into uric acid, and that sets people up for kidney stones and for gout. And hear this, high protein diets are toxic to the kidneys. Every nephrologist knows that when you got a patient going into renal failure, the first thing you do is put them on a low protein diet. Now, when people eat these big chunks of meat and when they drink these protein powders and 100 grams of amino acids slam into the glomeruli, the filters in your kidneys, it injures them. And people eating these high protein diets and drinking these protein shakes are writing themselves a ticket to the dialysis machine. This is not healthy. But nobody's followed these diets for 20 years. They literally don't know what they're talking about. They've never seen anybody on these diets long term. Plant-based diets, people have been on for thousands of years, lots of centenarians in their hundreds eating plant-based diet. We know those are safe. Nobody's ever done this for 20, 30, 40 years. And I think that some terrible diseases are going to show up. The carnitine in the meat spawns bacteria that creates molecules that drive cholesterol into your artery walls. Endotoxin from the slaughterhouse bacteria make your gut leaky, set people up for autoimmune diseases. All the methionine in the meat creates homocysteine that makes dementia worse. And if someone asks me, Doc, I want to cause a colon cancer, how do you think I should go about that? Simple, pack your colon full of meat 3 times a day, let that rub on your colon wall for 10 or 20 years, watch what you set off there. And high-fat diets clog up your insulin receptors, make you insulin resistant. And that's when the paleo folks say, when they eat carbohydrates, it jacks your sugar up. That's right, if you've got your insulin receptors so clogged up with fat, any little sugar is going to crank it up there. But the problem isn't the sugar, it's the fat. The high-fat diet is making you diabetic. And these folks, the young docs who are advocating paleo diets, keto diets, they're not going to be around. They're not going to be looking after you in 10 years when you pass that bloody stool from your colon cancer. They're not going to be around when your joints light up from your autoimmune disease from the leaky gut. They're not going to be around when you get that stroke from the vascular disease. They're just selling books. Now, a paleo diet, keto diet, they don't know what they're talking about. This is not the natural diet for human beings. And in my opinion, these paleo eaters are setting themselves up for a plague of colon cancer, heart attacks, strokes, autoimmune diseases from the leaky gut, diabetes from all the fat, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's, colitis from all the microbes that are injuring their gut wall, and dementia. This is a diet of death. And I urge you to honor your anatomy. We are plant-eating organisms, and you should take it seriously. Do you have to be 100% vegan? No, you want to have a little piece of flesh once or twice a week? Cool. But there's 21 meals in a week, 7 days a week. They should all be whole food plant-based. And on top of that, if once or twice a week you want to have a little piece of flesh, okay. But it should be a plant-based diet. A flesh-based diet is a diet of death. Yet Western medicine is practicing like what our patients are eating has no effect on these diseases. That's why I'm going around to the schools. Get serious, doctors. That's why you're dealing with all these diseases. Exactly from what your patients are eating. And if you want to call yourself a true physician, then you've got to deal with reality not only of what your patients are eating, but what you're eating as well. Because the docs are eating the pizzas and the burgers and the filet mignon and the steaks, and they're not going to tell their patients don't eat it. Why, they still are. So I have some reality checks with my medical colleagues as well. But doc, if I don't eat meat, I could crave it. And they do. People have real meat cravings. And some folks, if they suddenly stop the meat and they just eat plants, after a while they don't feel so good. And then they eat the meat, whoa, they feel better. Oh, I'm a carnivore, vegan, schmegan, man, I need my meat. And that's for real. But if we're not really flesh-eating creatures, where's this coming from? Why does this happen? In my humble opinion, here's what I think is behind those meat cravings. Like everything else, it stems from when we're very, very young. And I'm talking very young, 6 months of age. The baby is still nursing on the breast. The baby's still sucking from the bottle if they're consuming formula. And at that point, at age 6 months, with all the love in the parents' hearts, there's no malice here. Your mother didn't know, my mother didn't know. They only wanted the best for us. But at age 6 months, that jar of baby lamb, baby chicken, baby turkey is opened. And from that point on, 3 times a day, animal flesh is slathered on that child's intestine. All through infancy. By age 2 or 3, they're in the fast food restaurant eating their Happy Meals. And from that point on, 3 times a day, all through infancy, childhood, adolescence, puberty, their teens, their 20s, their 30s, 3, 4 times a day, you're eating animal flesh. The intestine, the body will adapt. The intestines will set up the best mucus for absorbing the nutrients from this high-fat, high-sugar, high-cholesterol food stream. Your liver enzymes will set up to be the best for dealing with this high-fat, high-protein, high-sugar, high-cholesterol food stream. Your body will get a metabolic set for this flesh-based food stream. And very importantly, when you're eating the muscle of an animal, which is what steaks and chicken breasts really are, you're eating the preformed animal nutrients, carnitine, creatine, myoglobin is coming into the body, preformed. Well, your body makes creatine, your body makes carnitine, your body makes myoglobin. But if it's coming in preformed 3 times a day, what are your own genes going to do? They're going to down-regulate. You don't have to make your own if it's coming in every few hours in the food. So by age 20, 30, 40, you got a real dependency on those preformed muscle nutrients. Then the light goes on. You see a movie like Forks Over Knives, you read John Robbins' book, you come to a lecture like this, and plant-based, I'm going plant-based, and you do. And most people have no problem. The body loves it in general. But some folks are going to take a few months to gear up their enzymes, to change their intestinal mucus, to change their liver enzymes, and to start synthesizing, because all of a sudden, all those preformed animal muscle nutrients gone. Got to make your own right now. And some folks are going to take a few months to gear up their enzymes to do that. And during that time, they draw down on their own stores of these nutrients, and they don't feel so good. And then they eat some muscle, and those carnitine and creatine pores through tissue. Oh, I feel great. Vegan, schmegan, I'm a carnivore. Eating animal flesh 2-3 times a day will create a dependency on those foods. This is not normal human physiology. This is an acquired dependency produced by feeding animal flesh to a human infant age 6 months of age and all through their growing years. I need my meat. We created this. This is not normal. And the people who show this are the folks who've been raised as vegans since birth. These folks do not get meat cravings. I've delivered 428 babies, and 30 of them were to vegan parents, and I watched them grow up into big, strong, healthy, bright people who've had vegan kids of their own. They don't have meat cravings. Their mouth doesn't water when they walk past a barbecue. They are physiologically different creatures who have not developed this dependency. So just to be clear about the I love my meat, where it really came from and what it's really symbolizing. So what do you do if you want to get to a plant-based diet? Some folks may take a few months or even a year. I had meat cravings for years after I started eating plants only. It's okay. It's all right. And if your body has to have some animal protein, fair enough. No finger wagging here. Find the smallest amount your body needs, about the size of a deck of playing cards, and eat them as seldom as you can. Have a little piece on Monday, coast on that Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, till you think you really need some more, and then have another little piece of can of sardines or something, and coast on that for 3-4 days. Go as long as you can, and try to stretch out the time in between. But if you're someone who just eats meat once a week, bless you. If everybody in America ate meat once a week, man, I'd be a happy doc, and we would be a much, much, much healthier nation. So you don't have to be a vegan, but get real about the place of animal flesh in your diet. We need to change from an animal-based diet to a plant-based diet for lots of reasons. If you want to survive, you want to clean out those arteries, you want to avoid that colon cancer, then you want to evolve to a plant-based diet. You can go to my website and go to my video section. You will see a video I made there called Thriving on a Plant-Based Diet. It's how to do this and practically. And I deal with all sorts of topics on this as well. Now, what do you order in the restaurant? And how do you deal with it? Okay, this is a touchy scene. A lot of social pressure here to eat. Aunt Mary came into town, you want to take her out to dinner. Restaurant food is full of salt, sugar, and fat. That's what makes it taste so good. When people ask me to go out, well, do I want Italian flavor salt, sugar, and fat? How about Chinese salt, sugar, and fat? Ooh, haven't had East Indian salt, sugar, and fat in a while. Ooh, Thai salt, sugar, and fat's really good. It's full of salt, sugar, and fat. That's what it is. Fair enough. You don't want to eat a whole lot of it. So in order to avoid that, what do I do before I go out to eat? I eat. I have an apple, I polish off the salad in the fridge, I'll have a bowl of soup. I don't want to walk in that restaurant famished, so I polish off 2 baskets of bread before the waiter gets there. I'm there to be with your friends. I'm there to be with your friends, my friends. You have no obligation to stuff your face with unhealthy food just because Aunt Mary's visiting in town. Use your power as an adult. It's nobody's damn business what you order for lunch. You're a grown man, you're a grown woman, and God forbid you get a heart attack or a stroke or a breast cancer. It's only you in that hospital bed. It's not Aunt Mary, it's not your daughter-in-law, it's not your spouse, it's not the people at work, it's you. We're talking about whatever years you have left on this planet to be functional, not to have to deal with a stroke, not to have a heart attack that leaves you so weak that you get winded walking out to the mailbox. You want to be functional. So do the best you can. The Italian restaurant, order the salad and the minestrone soup and the broccoli rabe and maybe a little side dish of pasta with marinara sauce, and get the heck out of there as soon as you can. Do the best you can, but realize just because Aunt Mary's in town, you don't have to have the chicken cacciatore with all the extra cheese on it and shove it into your mouth. When you're on the road, travel with your own safe food. You have some hummus and carrot sticks with you. I have a friend who travels with a plastic plate and a knife, and they said, Doc, I can always stop at a Safeway, grab a cantaloupe, cut it up, and eat it.